Hey everyone. So I've been encouraged to just share things. I've been told I need to just share all the things I think are maybe just my own musings that don't need to be shared with the world, and I've been told that I need to share them. So I'm going to do my best to, for better or worse, share them. And I thought one of the things I should start with is the things I take for granted, because I wasn't even going to do this originally until, again, I was encouraged to do so. And I thought, well, maybe the biggest thing to do is go back to the absolute core of why I was so inspired to bring the message that I've been bringing for the last 20 years to the world. And ultimately, the crux of it is it brought ease to my life, where I had the opposite experience before that. I had suffering, just pure suffering. And it's not to say that it solves everything, because life is always bringing us challenges, but it brought ease where it counted. It brought ease to the core. It brought ease to the center of my being. It brought ease to the body. And we can't control the things that are coming at us every day necessarily. To a degree we can, to the degree that we can be awakened to how to manage things and how to have healthy boundaries and have a healthier understanding of where we are in the world and how we got here and all that. So with that in mind, there's still a lot of things that come at us that we, are not necessarily masterful with yet. But the beauty of cleansing the body and managing to cleanse the mental field, the emotional field, the energetic field, the sexual field, all of these things, enables us to have an ease about life that we wouldn't have otherwise. And so there are things in my life that, like I said, when I say I take them for granted, I don't really take them for granted. I love them. I am immensely and just profoundly blessed by them and grateful for them. But I sometimes forget that they need to be repeated, because, I think, sometimes when you've got something, you've got it. And you pass it on to people when they come around you, they ask you questions, but then you kind of forget that actually, it needs to be said and said again. So today is a great day, because I was even reminded on an even bigger level of the incredible ease. Because I went into my training session that I always have with my sensei. I train in strength and martial arts every day with my sensei, Bradley Grant Smith, who's absolutely amazing. And every day but the weekends, but Monday through Friday. And generally speaking, I have great energy. I have, since I started cleansing, and that's why I do this. But today, I really felt like I was 12. And I'm turning 45 in a couple of weeks. And I felt like I was 12. And I thought, I actually feel such a lightness in my being, which again, I generally feel to a huge degree. But today, it's exponential. And it's like, whoa, like the progression and the consistency, it just keeps getting better. And there is no question, of course, everything that we believe about aging. But it reminded me that, first of all, I wanted to just remind people who are on this path that the consistency and the longevity of it, that the stick-to-itiveness is what enables you to get to higher and higher levels of ease in the being. But, other things that I sort of loosely will say I take for granted, I lay in the sun, and I'm actually in the sun right now, and I just strip down and get into the sun and put the coconut oil on, and I don't wear a typical SPF. There is natural SPF in coconut oil and other plant-based oils, but I commune with the sun, and I naturally have this, wonderful caramel skin color when the sun is out. It's been, there's been about 3 months of rain in Cape Town, where I live, which is amazing, because there was a terrible drought for years, and so that's, thankfully a thing of the past for now. But so sometimes I can't get in the sun, and for weeks at a time I wasn't able to, and today I was, and immediately, like within 15 minutes, the caramel coloring comes back to the skin, and there's no need for a spray tan. There's what I call a ray tan. And it's easy. It's another kind of ease. It's easy to be in the sun. It's easy to soak up the sun. It's easy to get a caramel coloring. And, with my background, which is Eastern European and Northern European, not Northern European per se, sort of Irish, Scottish, and Russian Polish. And I used to burn. I used to burn terribly in the sun. before I started cleansing. So it wasn't easy to be in the sun. And there's an ease of dealing with difficult things, even though they're very difficult, and there's an ease in the mind, and there's an ease in the heart. There's an easy way of loving. It's natural. There's an easy way of understanding the interconnected network of life. There's an easy way. One sleeps easily. One falls asleep easily. One, has an ease in their being, so they're not always reaching for something and looking for something outside of themselves. And this is really important because one of the reasons the matrix gets its hooks into us is because there's a lack of satisfaction in the being, because the being isn't connected to the interconnected network of life. It's connected to the matrix, and the matrix leaves you empty. The matrix leaves you feeling unsatisfied. And so in that lack of that dissatisfaction, it dangles other things in front of us that promise to fill those holes and meet that dissatisfaction with a kind of satisfaction that, of course, is never really met and leaves one forever looking for more satisfaction, or looking for that rudimentary satisfaction. So the ease in the body, that is so, the ease in the being, in the mind, in the heart, in the interfacing with everything. And it also creates an open but discerning mind, because when you have accomplished when you've applied the natural laws in such a way that your life changes so dramatically and completely because of them, you understand them, and then you hold everything up in light of those natural laws. And so you have a natural ability to discern, because you're embodying the discretion, the discernment. You've had to, because you've had to change yourself completely. So, you're able to take in information and make sense of it. And this idea of resonance becomes something greater, because your natural state of being is in alignment, in resonance with natural law, with the harmonics of the universe, not with the matrix and the confusion and the chaos. So that which is true is abundantly clear. It's easy to see. And that saying, by their fruits you shall know them. Well, you embody the fruits, you carry the fruits, you have the fruits. But it comes down to the ease. And if you're not experiencing the ease, then you're not either doing it right, your application or your understanding is somehow off. So the ease is really the proof in the pudding that you've understood the right information, you've taken the right information in, you've applied it correctly, because it is being, you are embodying that ease. And you also don't feel a compulsion to constantly consume. You have that ease in the being is also reflected in your consumption practices. There's just less need at large. But in order to have all that happen, like I said, the application of the knowledge and the application have to be correct. So if you are, if you're not grasping the reality that which doesn't belong in the being needs to leave, and that it has to leave in a complete way, that these obstructions, the occlusions that are in the body preventing the life force from flowing, if they don't leave, if they're not moved, if they're not dissolved, if they're not flushed out, then it's going to be impossible to ever get that sense of ease. So I remember, actually, I was thinking about this recently. I had a wonderful couple who I used to see in New York. This was maybe 10 years ago. Clients of mine, and they used to always say to me, we would meet actually at the health food store often, and we'd get a juice, or I would meet them and I would wind up running into them at the health food store, and they'd be getting their green juice, and they were so proud of the transition that they made, and they came a long way. It's fairly an older couple in their 60s, and they were so brave, because they were otherwise very traditional. And they totally got the whole diet thing. They were good on that. And after work, they met at the juice bar. They had their juice. They would go home and have their vegetables for dinner. They stopped eating all the, the fleshes and the starches and all the things that they had in their old life. And they were even, getting their friends excited about it and everything. But they would always say to me, that colonic thing, do we really have to do that? And that's where they got stuck. And they would always just do so well. They'll always be better off than everyone around them. They'll be healthier. They won't, get the seasonal flu, or if they do, they would get it, to a far less degree, and they wouldn't have the same ailments, and they wouldn't have the high blood pressure and all the stuff that their peers were experiencing, but they weren't getting to the gold. And that's because of their hesitation around the actual visceral elimination of the blockages, they could only go so far. And like I said, it's great that they went that far. But I could see in their hearts, they wanted to go all the way. They were, I haven't been in touch with them since I've been back here in South Africa, but they were always so resistant in that area. And they just didn't want to get their heads around cleaning the colon with water. That simple act of irrigating the intestine. And that is what holds so many people back, because they will be gung-ho. They can they can get their head around fasting. They can get their head around juicing. They can get their head around one meal a day. They can get their head around a largely green-based diet. But when that colonic thing comes up, if they're resisting that, and if they're resisting the frequency which it's needed in order to actually get that accumulation, that depth of waste out of the system, they're really not going to get there. And what's more important, what's worse, and what's even sadder, is that they'll do all that work and they won't actually get the full benefit of what they've done. So to my mind, the big effort is in the dietetic changes and getting off your addictions and transitioning dietetically. The easy thing is getting the waste out. Now, it's not always fun, and it's not always pretty, but that's where all the gains that you made with the diet is given the benefit of it's meeting its fruition, because the dark leafy greens, the juices, the halting of eating all the starchy, sugary animal flesh, packaged, processed foods, all of that is the hard work. And then by doing that, you alkalinize the tissue and you awaken the waste. So if the waste doesn't leave, what's the point of ever even doing that? And if you don't do that, if you don't have that end result of releasing the waste, then you don't actually get to the ease. So that's really what I wanted to, I didn't know that that's where I was going to go with this, but ultimately that's why I have the ease I have today. 20 years of deep tissue cleansing has given me 20 years of ease, so that I can deal with all the difficult things in the world, living, being still biologically, geographically in this world, but not of it. So having to deal with all the fallout of it, but being in a embodying space in my spirit and my flesh that isn't concentrated with and saturated by all that nonsense, which leaves you heavy laden and suffering. So, all right, in conclusion, it's all about the ease. Okay, so much love. Bye for now.